Welcome to the Drum Chats podcast, where we're talking anything and everything to do with drums. Today's topic, kick drum beaters. Here are your hosts, Travis Davis and Dave Douglas.
Hey guys, welcome to the Drum Chats podcast. I'm Dave Douglas, and Travis Davis is down in Nashville. We're gonna hang out and talk about kick drum beaters. How you doing?
I'm good, man.
Yeah,
Just beat it. Yeah.
Just beat it. That's right. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here.
Things are good. I've been looking forward to this one because I don't really, personally, I have never expanded on playing with different beaters, even though I've seen a ton of different options.
Are you telling me you don't have like 20 different kick drum beaters in your bag?
Well, I may have like 15 or 16.
Oh, okay.
Nope. I only own the ones that came with the pedal.
Yeah. You've never bought any like aftermarket or replacement ones even?
No, but after wanting
serious?
to,
okay.
I have like extra of like DW has their just their typical ones. I have extras of those.
Okay.
But I don't have any like experimental, golf ball beaters or something.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I have a couple different kick drum beaters, but they're like different materials, but they're all the same style.
Right.
So yeah, I don't have a slew of different ones either. Yeah, but there's a bazillion different kinds out there, right?
Yes.
Kick drum beaters. Yeah. So, I mean, like anything else, we're talking about creating different sounds here and different sounds that work with different styles of music and different styles of playing.
Right.
So what's our basic kind of our normal kick drum beaters? We're talking about felt, I think is, that's kind of the most common, I think.
Yep.
And then, they're kind of like there's hard and soft ones basically, but felt is kind of up the middle, a little bit more generalized, but and it can be actually either hard or soft. But and then really kind of there's like artificial ones like plastic, and wood is pretty popular as well. And then you've got like the big fluffy ones and yarn. They come in all different kind of ways, really.
Yeah.
But most of the time when you buy a kick drum pedal, it's going to come with a beater, and most of us stick with that one for a while unless it's just like weird, or maybe you bought like a cheaper pedal and you just want to replace the beater and because the stock one is falling apart.
Right.
Those ones that are like a barrel, but they're covered in felt, and then after like a week, the felt is all coming off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like those ones.
Like
you
it looks like
replace
it
those
looks like
ones.
a mallet. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, it's like a mallet, and then it's like it's peeling. It's just all coming apart.
Yeah.
It's just all coming apart.
My first kick drum pedal that came with my first kit was like a beginner kit. It had that, and I remember like when I didn't know anything about the drums, like rather than going and just buying a new beater, I like taped it back together and
you got to make your money last.
Got to make it work, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You do what you got to do.
Well, it's cool to me too. Not only are there, I feel like kick drum beaters, as many options as there are, some can seem kind of gimmicky, but overall, like there's going to be a difference no matter what the material is. Like we were talking about in the last episode, we're talking about like the triple and quadruple kick drum pedals like all together, where it's just like this is unnecessary. But with beaters, like I've seen where guys are even making their own at home, like making one with a tennis ball. Like it's silly, but it still produces its own sound.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
What's neat about beaters is like I can't even imagine the number of different options.
Yeah, like, it's pretty endless.
Different products that there are. Like we talked about earlier, I use the beater that comes with a DW 5000 or 9000 pedal, and I used to use the backside of it, so it was like the hard plastic. But recently, since I got this 9000, I just kept it on the felt side. No real reason. I just liked it. But I've seen where some of our guys over at Drum Paradise will have like a rack, like a rolling rack with percussion drawers for their sessions and stuff. And they'll have, 6 or 7 different kinds of beaters. And they'll swap them out different, depending on the song. Like like we talked about the big fluffy fleece ones.
Yep.
I know Vic Firth makes a pretty common one, and then there's yarn, but then even getting into the harder ones, like you said, with wood, and there's even metal beaters. Like,
yeah, the metal one actually
rubber,
it seems like really over the top to me, and I get it that someone decided like, hey, no one's making a metal beater, and so someone decided to make one, but that seems pretty unnecessary to me.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, I think you do get a really snappy attack because you get that because it's metal, but I don't think it's gonna be that much different than you would just a hard plastic beater.
Yeah, I mean, the hard plastic and the wood beaters are really gonna cover you for the most part. If you want something that's very attack heavy, very kind of focused sounding with kind of that scooping of the mids out and cleans up the sound a little bit, still get nice, really punchy, big low end, but you definitely have that attack that's accentuated with a hard beater. And then the shape of it, of course, is going to matter as well. Anytime that there's like a more focused area or smaller area, almost like with sticks, we talked about this with sticks, if there's a smaller area contacting the drum head, it's going to be a little bit more articulate, a little bit more pointed sounding. So that the different shape beaters will definitely make a difference. I think the biggest difference is going to be in the material type, but the shape will also certainly make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I just sent you a link. I was talking with a friend of mine about this DW. They call it a hardcore beater with adjustable foam, and it's a square beater. And then in the middle of it, like the square is made out of foam, and then in the middle of that foam, there's a round piece of plastic.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Or rubber, I think, and you can adjust the foam, forward or backward. But which is really neat because you've got two materials going into that now. But like you said, the surface area where it's concentrated, it's hitting really hard on a very small surface, but these bigger ones are covering more surface area on the base, on the head.
Yeah.
And so that can kind of tend to actually, even if it's not like a foam or a fleece beater, it still creates kind of a warmer impact.
Yeah.
Because it's hitting more space rather than just on one little spot.
Right. You can get a little bit more like thud kind of roundness out of it and a little bit less pointed attack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that DW beater that you're talking about is pretty interesting. You said it's adjustable with a foam. You can move it forward or backwards, so you can have like a little bit more or less of the hard attack in the center with the plastic. Is it right?
Yeah, I think it's plastic or rubber. No, yeah, it's plastic.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I think that's the same shape. There's like another one that DW makes that I think it's the same shape, but it's felt. I think it's just felt or whatever. That would, So I've seen both of those. And those are kind of interesting too, because like that's not even the normal DW beater that comes with their pedals, right?
No.
They're just like an option that they have for like an additional sounds and whatnot. I mean, are there some serious advantages to those? Are there additional adjustments, or what's the deal with those? Why don't they just put those on their pedals to begin with?
I don't know. I think because they can sell them.
Maybe. Actually, although the DW pedals, like the stock ones, don't they come with one that you can flip around so you can either have like a felt or a plastic side?
Yeah, and that's the one that I use.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense because you got two options in one there, obviously.
Exactly. Well, they've even got one where that same shape of DW. We keep going back to DW, but I just know those more than anybody.
Yeah.
That same design of that beater, they also have that, but instead of felt, it's red rubber.
Yeah.
And it's kind of soft. It's kind of soft rubber, and even that, like it's not as sticky as the hard plasticky side would be, but it's not as soft as the felt. I've played it before, and it does have kind of a nice medium range in the middle of it. But again, going back to the idea of gimmicky when it came to the pedals altogether, with these, you can actually hear a difference, especially when you mic it. Like there's a video I'll have to post on our website where there's guys who tried out different beater types and mic'd them, and you can actually hear the option and not just see it.
Yeah, it is
I think that's
interesting.
super
I mean,
important.
it's really dramatic, the different materials. If you swap out your beater, it'll make a huge difference for sure.
Oh,
If it's a
yeah.
different material type, I mean, if it's a different shape or a different weight or things like, I mean, all the things are going to make a little bit of a change, but the material is by far the biggest, by far.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
it's
saw
pretty obvious. Like, obviously the harder materials are going to have more of that clicky, attacky sound, and the bigger and the, fluffier they get, the more soft and rounded tone you're going to end up with. It's pretty obvious what they're going to do. But you should definitely try some different ones out.
Definitely. I mean, there's even leather beaters, and I've seen where guys will make their own at home. Like I mentioned him before, R. David R. on YouTube. If you're not following this guy, you should. And I want to talk with him pretty soon. But he made a video of making his own beaters at home. Like he took a golf ball and drilled a hole in it and made some out of wood. He made a beat. He took old drumsticks. He has like this whole wood shop at his house. He took old drumsticks, glued them together, and then shaved it down and like shaped it into a beater and made a beater out of recycled drumsticks. But point being is like,
it was only like 40 hours of labor.
Yeah, I just wish I had the means, like the space and the tools to make my own beater, and it actually worked. Because
oh my gosh.
I've seen guys make them out of teddy bears. Like, it's nuts, man. Like,
well, when you're in the
kind of an endless
studio,
option.
yeah, when you're in the studio and you have like the big open ballad that's like really wide open and washy, and there's a lot of space. Sometimes you just have to cut like a stuffed animal open and stick it over top of your beater. Maybe that's the best thing, You just put Teddy right there on the beater and just keep slamming him into the kick drum, and it sounds great. It sounds great.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
so
honestly,
good.
because I don't own that type of a beater, I have used them in the studio once or twice before where they were available, but I don't own any. So most of the time when I'm in that situation, I end up getting like rags or something like that and throwing them over my kick drum beater and just like gaff taping them to make them stay on, or hanging or taping like rags to my actual kick drum head to get that big open fluffy kind of woof pillowy kick drum sound, So but the easiest thing to do is just get the beater that you need, it's by far the easiest thing, but sometimes you don't have it, so there are other ways. But you don't want to be playing a live show and have like a teddy bear over your kick drum pedal. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know, maybe you do.
Well, let's go and take a break before we start talking about different kinds of teddy bears to use.
Okay, that sounds good. Be right back.
We'll be right back.
Have you ever met someone that you knew, not personally, but someone that you knew by reputation or because you're a fan of them or, something like that? Have you ever met someone like that and it was exactly what you wanted it to be when you met them? So I met Weird Al Yankovic in the hallway, one of the hallways of the Staples Center in LA, at the Grammys, actually. And it was perfect. So I've always really liked Weird Al. I don't even know like a crazy amount of his music. I'm sure he has like a bazillion songs, and I really don't even know that many of them, to be honest. But I'm just a huge fan of him. I just think he is a totally weird out there dude, right? He's just doing what he does in like the most Weird Al way possible. He doesn't care about anything. He's just doing his thing. And I love it so much. But he has this movie that I was obsessed with. I guess maybe am I still obsessed with it? I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, I haven't seen it in forever, but I really, really like it. And the movie is called UHF. Ultra High Frequency, of course, is what it stands for. And it's about being a little TV station back in the over-the-air TV station days, being one of the stations that's small and has a really high number when you dial it in on your TV. And Weird Al ends up working at and kind of saving the day for this UHF TV station, tiny little local TV station. And he just plays himself in the movie, you know. He's just, I don't know, he's just being a weird guy. He's just being himself in the movie. And, but I didn't totally know that. I mean, I guess I kind of knew that. I assumed that. It seems like he's just kind of doing his thing when you watch the movie. And it's really great. If you haven't seen it, watch it. UHF, Weird Al Yankovic. It's so ridiculous and just full of like spoofs and like sketches. It's like his music. Every scene is like a derivative of something else. So you'll watch it and you'll recognize other movies and things like that he's pulling from, of course. But when I met him in the Staples Center, it was so perfect. We walked by each other and I saw him. And I was just like, oh, no, nope. I got to turn around. And so I turned around and I went and I followed him, like not followed him like in a creepy way, but I like saw him and I caught up to him and I was like, hey, Weird Al. Huge fan. Really just want to shake your hand and say, I think you're a genius. I'm a huge fan. And he was so perfect. He was just like, oh, well, thank you very much. It was exactly like this was like a scene out of UHF. It was just him saying thank you. But I felt like I knew him, from watching him in movies and videos and everything else. It's just him being himself. He's not playing a character or anything. He's just doing himself. And it was just really that. I just said hello and he said thanks. And that was really it. We were on our way. But it's a super fun memory. Getting to meet someone that I had watched and experienced their work, and then I got to meet him, and it was great. I loved it. It's really interesting when I think about people meeting me, because people say, "Oh, I played drums because of you," and it's really, really crazy to think of that. It's kind of mind blowing, actually. And while I don't do anything that I do because of Weird Al, it does kind of remind me of that type of situation, where it's like I met him. I mean, I've seen him play once or twice at festivals, but I only met him the one time. And we literally said like a handful of sentences to each other and went about our evening, But it's really interesting how I remember the exchange. It makes me think that I need to be careful and, be cognizant of meeting other people. And it might just be meeting someone for the first time who has no idea who I am. Not that I'm anything special, but some people have an expectation when they meet you. If they do know who you are, or they like you for a certain reason, they're a fan of you, they know your reputation, they know someone who knows you. It's just interesting, people's expectations, and I always want to meet people and have their expectations be met or exceeded, and I don't know. It's just really a reminder to be kind, really. Yeah, this got kind of serious all of a sudden. Anyway, yeah, that's me meeting Weird Al. Okay, back to the show. Bye.
All right, guys, we are back talking about beaters and the plethora of options that there are, endless amount of options that there are. But interesting part is not only talking about the design and the look of them or the material that they're made out of, but also even, like I said, the design of them, and how that weighs into speed or weight, or response and things like that. One of the ones, Dave, you and I talked about this a few days ago, was the I think they call it the Lowboy beater.
Oh, dude, those are cool. I've never used one, but first of all, I like the look of them. Like everything that company makes. It has like a cool look to it, and it seems like they kind of run the gamut. You know, they have everything available that you might need.
Yeah.
But I really like their designs, even aesthetically. They're super cool looking. They actually, you know what? A lot of them remind me of croquet mallets.
Yes.
They kind of look
Yeah.
like a croquet mallet, like a barrel on its side, you know, attached to a metal shaft. But they're super cool.
Well, what's interesting about that too, you comparing them to a croquet mallet is
Yeah.
they are kind of top heavy, and
Yeah.
so whenever you stomp down on the pedal, not only is your, like we were talking in the last episode about the cam and the action that does, but now you're swinging this heavy object,
Yeah.
and that creates more of a backswing, and so it just drives right into your head, and so. I know I've seen a lot of videos on Instagram and YouTube and stuff of guys really loving these low boy beaters because
cool,
of that.
yeah.
It
I mean,
just-
if you just think of like swinging a bat versus swinging a sledgehammer, you know, it's like it takes a little more effort to get the sledgehammer going, but then there's a lot of impact, obviously. So yeah, we're obviously talking on a very small scale, but when you put weight out towards the head, the actual beater head,
right.
you know, once you get that thing moving, it has like a really good impact to it. So yeah, some guys really like to have a lot of weight out there. And again, it just depends on the style of music and whatnot. And I've gone back and forth. I don't know, like on the Iron Cobra stuff has little weights that you can slide on the beater shaft actually. So you can really change how heavy that beater is if you move the weight way out towards the head or move it back or whatever. It's a kind of infinitely adjustable. And I've messed around with it in all different positions and yeah, you just got to kind of find your spot. But it's interesting with some of these that have a lot of weight that's just built into them way out there.
I know on mine, I have a beater that I don't keep on my pedal, but I have, because DW does the same thing. They make like little circular weights that fit on the shaft.
Yes.
I have one that I have on there, and my idea was to put it on when I practice and then take it off and have one without a weight, but I've never used it for that.
Yeah,
But,
I just feel like kick drum, like for me, like I've said, I have struggled with being ahead with my feet, being my kick drum being ahead.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so changing the feel of that all the time, I feel like I really appreciate having
Throw it
that
off.
consistency. You know, I take my own kick drum pedal to a show because I want the consistency. And I want to make sure that
Right.
I am playing shows the way I'm practicing and vice versa. So I don't want to change that weight, but it makes sense. I mean, I think it makes more sense maybe in like a warm up type of situation where you're really trying to get the blood flowing. But the consistency of weight is pretty important to me. Maybe if you're playing a little bit slower stuff, it wouldn't maybe matter quite as much. But I think with most of my experience playing, you know, stuff that's more upbeat, that consistency is really important to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you want to know your kick drum pedal and your muscle memory, get used to the weight of that rather than shifting it around. And I think that's what I came to, even when I'm practicing, you know, like with sticks. Like I had the idea of going with a heavier stick in a warm up and then going back to my lighter stick, but it would actually throw me off. And so
Yeah, you've talked about that before, and you said it was a little bit uncomfortable almost then when you switch back to the lighter
Right.
stick for the show
I
or
didn't
whatever.
I didn't feel like I had control. So I feel like the same thing would be with your kick pedal. Like you said, you tend to play ahead.
Mhm.
I feel like if you weighted it and then took that weight off, you'd be even more ahead. And you would have to
Yeah.
be, and now you're having to focus on controlling how light it feels.
Yeah, if
Um,
anything, I would make it heavier maybe for the performance when I'm like pumped up and like even more prone to playing ahead. Like make it heavier so it's even harder to get ahead of the beat, you know?
Yeah.
But
What's,
I won't. I mean, I'm just saying that. I won't do it though.
Well, I know we talked about the low boy, and you said you never tried it. I've played on a kick drum that had it, but I've never owned one.
Uh-huh.
But I gotta say, Vic Firth makes some really cool beater design.
Yeah.
They have this one that I've seen. The felt that they use, it's a wood shaft beater. It looks like a drumstick on the end of
Oh.
your kick pedal,
I
and
think
then
I
it's
know-
got the felt ball on it.
Yeah, I know. It's like the hard felt ball, right?
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yep. That one's cool.
Those are awesome. And then they make another one that same hard felt, but it's like it's like circular, but it's flat on either side of it. I don't know what the design name would be. They call it's a radial felt kick pad.
Okay.
But I've seen them used, and I've played on some kick drums, and that thing, it feels good, but it sounds great because of how dense that felt is.
Really interesting.
Yeah, like I was kind of surprised, but it added such a thuddy just
Huh.
I don't even know the words to use it, but it sounded really cool, and I kind of thought about buying one.
Yeah, that's cool.
It sounded really neat for sure.
Yeah, there's a few that I would actually love to mention here. There's this company, Danmar. Have you come across them?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and they make some really interesting ones. They make the square one. I think there's a couple of companies that I saw that make square ones. Ahead. We've talked about Ahead before. They make a square one as well, and that one seems pretty interesting to me. That it's actually like a felt beater, but it's literally like a cube out on the end of the metal shaft, you know? And,
yes.
And everything I've read about those is that they're really cool. They're punchy and have like nice low end support, and, that they play surprisingly fast for like a big chunky, cube out on the end there. I thought that one was super cool. Definitely worth checking out. And then this other company, Cherry Hill. Did you come across them? They make these.
Have not.
They make these. I don't know if they only make wood beaters, but the ones I came across were like these barrel wood beaters. The barrel is like vertical though, so you're playing. It's actually on the rounded part of the barrel.
Oh yeah.
But then they'll also have like felt wrapped around it or leather wrapped around them, and they're actually like really beautiful looking kick drum beaters. But I thought that was super interesting. They had a couple interesting products there. So that's a little bit of kind of like your dual material thing that you were talking about, because it's just a strip of leather or a strip of felt wrapped around wood. But they're really good looking. Like if you want a beautiful kick drum beater, maybe look at Cherry Hill.
I'm looking them up right now. You were talking about the Ahead's kick drum beater, that foam cube.
Yeah, the cube. Yeah.
I had never seen that ever until I came to Nashville and seen some of these other drummers, and they use those religiously. And
oh, no way.
That foam does tend to warp or to shape differently over time. Like,
okay.
As it wears down, it does kind of compress and kind of stay in that shape after a long time. But they do sound really cool because, for one, we were talking about with that DW one, they cover a lot of surface area.
Mm-hmm.
The foam is it's like a denser foam, but it's still kind of soft.
Okay.
And it's still got a nice weight to it. It's not super light when you think of foam. Like, it's actually got some kind of weight. And so all around it is a very specific sound, and you've only got one option with it, but
it is specific. Like, it sounds like you're using a cube, one of those cubes?
No, what I mean is, like, you don't have like a two-sided beater.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like, it's only going to produce kind of a warm thud.
Well, what keeps coming to mind for me is the most of the bass drum beaters that I've used have an adjustable head, like the angle. You can change the angle of the head itself.
Oh yeah,
and I find that really useful because it depends how large your kick drum is, like how deep you'll have the shaft into the actual cam on the pedal, you know, so that your kick drum beater is actually hitting in the middle of the drum, right, kind of in the sweet spot, right? But also because of that, it can change the angle that the beater is contacting the head. So with the adjustable ones, it's really nice because you can make sure at that point of contact that you flatten the head out so that it all as much of the surface of your beater can be contacting the head itself. And so if you have a head that's not adjustable, like these cubes, I think these are really interesting. But if it's not perfectly level, if it's not perfectly upright when it contacts the head, then it's certainly going to be leaning forward and you're going to get more of that top edge. And that's probably what you're talking about, where you start to have like the shape of it starts to, you know, wear down, or it starts to warp a little bit. And then over time, it's just like permanently whatever, like rounded the top or whatever. So I think that's a little bit interesting because it just doesn't seem like on a lot of kick drums, it might not be hitting square, right?
Right. You're exactly right. And that's where I've seen that with some of these other guys' beaters that they're using, is that it'll wear down over time. or it'll shape over time, and then they'll just rotate, 90 degrees, and then use that other side.
Oh, so
Um,
they have like 4 kick pedals in one.
they have,
Like they just use
yeah,
it till it
they
wears
got
out and then move to the
right,
next
right,
one.
and,
That's
then it
cool.
just becomes like a foam ball, like whenever it
Yeah,
reshapes.
that's interesting.
Um,
Yeah, I've actually had that too. So I've used all three. I've used 3 different types of materials over my drumming career. Like when I've seriously like playing Relient K and whatnot. I initially
yeah,
used I did use some wood beaters initially, and then I switched to rubber beaters, and then I switched to felt. And that's what I ended up using for the longest time.
yeah,
But it was interesting. The wood ones don't really wear down. The felt wear down, and so do the rubber ones. But it's interesting because they definitely don't wear evenly. As I contact the beater with the head, just the force that I'm putting into it, it's like it makes contact and then pushes into the head and down as it comes around the cam, like just the action of the pedal. So I end up actually wearing the pedal or the beaters at an angle. There's like a lot less available left to me at the top of the beater. It's still like thick at the bottom, and it kind of wears
right,
down
right.
at the top. But I actually I really liked the rubber ones because it was a nice mix between the felt, like softness of the felt, all around feel of the felt versus like that attack aggression of the wood. The rubber was
Yeah.
a nice kind of in the middle situation, I really felt like. But I actually, too many times, this actually happened like a number of times, where as my kick, as the beater wore down during the show, the rubber would actually become hot from all the friction of hitting the kick
What?
drum. And there would be times where I would hit my kick drum and it would stick and it would not come back. So
What?
so the pedal would actually be
Oh my
stuck down
gosh.
because the pedal would be totally like loose, but the beater would just be like pressed into the head. And it's also, it's compounded because I use my batter head really soft. It's really loose.
Yeah.
So
remember you told me that.
so my beater would contact the batter head, push it in, and go and push down as it comes around the cam, right? The beater. So it actually become hot, and it would be wedged in, pushed in the head, and it would be sticky enough because it's hot that it wouldn't come back. So
Oh
that was
my
actually the
gosh.
reason why I went away from them and switched to the felt, so that it would actually not stick,
Dude,
Like, this is
that's
the problem.
amazing.
Well, yeah, it's amazing
I mean,
until it
to talk
happens
about
to
it
you
now.
like 4 times in a show or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it happened like a bunch of times, and I was like, forget this. This is absurd, So then I just switched to the felt ones, and my world was
Imagine-
much nicer.
Imagine if like Joey Jordison used those rubber beaters, just a million miles an hour blast beats, like
Yeah, they would be melted,
just melted. Yeah.
liquid.
Well, let's go ahead and take another break, and then we'll come back and talk about beaters and impact pads for your kick head. Hey everybody, this is Travis, and I'm bringing you the tip of the day. So today's tip is rather simple. It has to do with kick drum beaters, but it has to do with the impact patches, as you're about to hear Dave and I talk about. But I always use impact patches because I feel like if I don't, the head gets dented where the beater hits a lot faster. Some people don't use them for tonal reasons, or that's really about it. Tonal reasons for the integrity of the head. But typically Remo or Evans, a lot of kick drum heads that you'll buy, they'll often send some with them where it's just an added ply of sticky plastic. You can get into the different types, like the leather ones or rubber or felt or whatever else is out there. But my general tip is, if you want to make your head last a lot longer, those impact patches are great products to use. Okay, let's get back to the show.
Hey guys, welcome back from that tip from Travis. One thing I want to actually touch on real quick before we get into the impact pads
Yeah.
is this one other beater that I saw that I thought was really cool, and I guess it's in the same family as like the really big fluffy like wool ones, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
I think who makes it? Is it does Tama make? Yeah, Tama makes it. It's called the Soft Sound. Did you see that? Tama
No,
Soft
I
Sound.
haven't seen that.
So like that foam that looks kind of like egg crate foam that you can get from Oralex, and it comes in like
Mm-hmm.
square,
Mm-hmm.
in squares or
Oh,
whatever. This is like a little
yeah.
mini one. It's like
I'm looking at that now. That's so cool.
yeah, it's super cool. It's like 4, 5, maybe it's 6 inches across. It's a square, but it's
Uh-huh.
like that foam that you would just put on your walls in your bedroom when you want to record things in there, right? You
What?
cover your room with foam, right?
Right. I've got
It,
it
it,
right next to me. Yeah.
exactly. It's like that, but it's just like a square that's like 5 or 6 inches, and it's like attached to a kick drum beater. So
Dude,
it
that's actually
seems
really
it's
cool.
yeah, it seems pretty cool. I would like to mess around with one of those. I think they're pretty awesome. Maybe
Yeah.
not as vibey as like the really big fluffy ones,
Right, right. Yeah.
but it's certainly a cool idea. I like the
I can
idea a lot.
I can see how this would be useful when in instances where you don't have any pillow or blanket or anything in your kick drum and it's just open.
Yeah,
I can see
yeah.
how this would be nice in like a jazz setting where you're just kind of like making your kick drum boomy.
Oh yeah, look,
Um,
and I'm actually looking at a description of it right now, and it says it's acoustic foam over lightweight
uh-huh.
plastic. So they're
Okay.
not even trying to trick us at all. They're saying it's acoustic foam. So
There you go.
that's what
Yeah.
it is. That's what it
Man,
is.
I need to make bass drum beaters.
Okay. All right.
Like if they're selling that, I should make some and sell them.
That it feels a little bit like the drum cube idea that you were talking about, where you throw the foam
Yeah.
cubes in your kick drum, decide
Oh yeah.
how many cubes you need.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous. There's so many
That's
products out there, guys. It's like it's an endless amount. You just got to wade through them and figure them out. And some of them are total ridiculous garbage, and other ones might seem that way, but they're actually functional.
just save your money and just go buy all of them and try them all.
Or
There's
or
or don't.
okay, whatever. Or yeah,
Or-
sure,
or
whatever.
just watch you just watch YouTube videos of people trying them. But
Yeah, there you go.
point being is the material of it will produce a different sound, and
Yeah,
the idea even if it's ridiculous like putting acoustic foam on there, the idea of it's cool, and I'm sure it does what they hoped it would do. But
Yeah.
what about we're talking about beaters, but and not all beaters, like even this one wouldn't call for this, but the impact patches that you can put on your kick drum,
Yep.
there's even different materials in those and different.
Yeah, I think they're
there's
normally
not near as many, but
yeah. I
they're
think
out there.
the most common seem to be Kevlar or vinyl. Is that right?
Right. Yes. You're
Okay,
right.
yeah, that's what it seems like. So, yeah, I swear by those things, and I really like the Kevlar ones. But I've used both of them. But yeah, I really like
Yeah.
I really like those. Is it Phalum Slam or Phalum Slam, whatever those
Uh
are?
huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Who makes those? Is that that's a
Remo
Remo?
makes
That's a
some,
Remo. Yeah, it's a
mhm.
Remo product, and it just comes with the kick drum head. Most of their kick drum heads just come with one in there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and often I actually use a double kick pedal. We didn't talk about that really at all. I almost never use it like during a beat, but I use it
Mhm.
sometimes during fills, actually, during drum fills. It's really the only time I use it, but it's like such a habit now. It's like this comfort thing, just having it
Right.
there. But so I always have to buy the like double pedal impact pad. It's like two of them. It's like an 8.
Just to have it there. Yeah.
Yeah, so both of the pedals hit the pad, Although I guess I have sometimes just put the one up because I'm like 95%, 98% single pedal.
Yeah.
And then it's just like a handful of times I'll use the double pedal for fills or whatever. So but yeah, I
Right.
swear by those things, man. I think they do actually change the sound a little bit, but for me personally, it's about durability of the
Sure.
kick drum head. What about you?
Mine is the same as the durability.
Yeah.
Because I like you, I like you. I also
I like
use
you.
the
I like you too, Travis.
I use the Kevlar patch as well,
Yeah.
specifically for the durability. And it definitely does. It keeps my head from creating like an overtime indention in it.
Yeah.
But I have seen where some of these do have them for specific sounds or specific feels. I know Danmar, they are known for making like very plasticky patches.
Mhm.
And then Evans, I don't know if Remo makes one like this, but I've seen that Evans makes, it's like a very it's like a fiber patch. It's almost like felt kind of, but
Oh, yeah. I know what
it's
you're talking about.
yeah, and it just kind of creates a softer impact.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gets into the affecting the sound, not just the feel or the protection.
Right.
And then I've seen some where kind of like with metal beaters, they'll also have maybe not quite metal pads, but they'll be like plasticky pads to get that
really?
just really quick decay sound on your kick drum. Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
man. That sounds bad.
It almost erases the point of a kick drum. Like
Is it just like
well, the sound, I think like you're for me, I feel like if I got a 2218 kick drum, I got the size because of the way that shell is going to react with the heads.
Mhm.
But I think whenever you're putting a beater on there that's got a certain that kind of material,
Mhm.
you're now really kind of changing the value of your kick drum because like, and I'm not coming down on metal drummers or anything, but like with metal drummers, they really just want a very sticky, almost metallic-y sound to their kick.
Yeah, it's that attack that matters for sure.
Yeah, you're not really getting the tonal quality of your kick drum. You're just getting the attack from the impact of your beater. And then then there's some, I think Danmar also makes it, or Gibraltar makes like a rubber patch.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced with those, but for me, I just use the Kevlar mostly for just the protection of the head.
Yeah, I've never experimented with different type of impact pads, but like I said, I've used the Kevlar and the vinyl, and it is really, for me, it is just about the protection of the head. But it definitely will suck out a little bit of that low mid range kind of woofy, gross part of the kick drum. So it does actually help with the sound. We talked about muffling, of course, in the past, and it's kind of like putting a single piece of tape in the middle or something. It just kind of can really control some of the overtones of the kick drum and really bring it into focus. So I find that it's helpful for that. But for me, it's mostly durability is really what I'm after.
Yeah, I wonder how much more expansion there could be on some of these patches, like with beaters. You make them out of felt and wool and wood and whatever, and they're certainly expanding on different materials with these. But I wonder if they'll ever like if you glued a piece of wood to your kick drum.
Yeah. Okay.
Like.
Yeah.
I wonder how much room there is for experimentation with putting a patch on your batter side kick drum.
Yeah.
Or if it's really just kind of limited to this.
Well, I really just feel like in theory, like, we put heads on a drum kit or on a drum to help it sound the way we want it to sound, help it react the way we want it to react. And then if you want it to sound a different way, like stylistically or whatnot, something you can change really quickly and easily, I think that's the job of the beater, really.
Yeah. Definitely.
I don't know. I think the beater is where really that variation should be paid attention to.
Right.
Now, again, like you mentioned, like if you're a metal drummer and there is a very specific type of attack sound you need, whatever. If you're going for a sound, whatever you can do to get it is totally fine. You should do that thing.
Right.
But in order to have like open, versatile drums, and something that's maybe even easily changeable, I think the thing you should be changing is maybe your beater, not what's attached to your kick drum head.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it, though.
Well, like you said, the more stuff you put on your head, the more dampening you're putting to the sound, and so that makes sense. Like that if you're going to change the sound of it, it should be on the beater and not changing the integrity of your drum head. Because
I mean they all work together, of course. So you got to do what you got to do. but I think that might be the last thing that you kind of experiment with. I think heads and dampening, and then the thing that comes in contact with the kick drum, right, which is the beater. Those are like your major components, I think, and then after that you can tweak to your heart's desire. But I don't know that you're really going to need to a lot. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, and again, I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of the beater options that we've explored, a lot of that really, this isn't the whole truth, but I feel like a lot of that comes into play more when you're recording versus live. Unless there's a drastic difference between playing a rock show and a jazz show where you want obvious sound change in your kick drum. I feel like a lot of these options really are more focused when you're recording and the microphone is concentrated on that one thing.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're recording, you're going to capture a lot more detail, and you're going to be hyper focused and critical about all of the details.
Right.
And live, it's about getting things done. Yeah. You just got to get it done. You got to get set up. You got to get rolling. You got to get through sound check. You got to make this thing work and on with the show. And you try and figure out your sound going in and something that's going to work for everything you're about to play, your entire set list. But in the studio, you can pay a lot more attention to those details for sure.
Well, and a good thing to remember is we talked about putting weights on your beater. A lot of these different materials already are going to be different weights. And, it's going to be different. You playing a wool beater versus a wood one, and the backswing is going to be affected. And so whenever you're swapping out live, you need to be ready to change the feel and how it's going to respond to you as the player and not just the sound. Because like you said, everything works together, and a bunch of different contributing factors to not only the sound but also the performance, and like you said, not playing ahead of everything.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah. That's kick drum beaters. So guys, hit us up and tell us what you think of the episode and which kick drum beaters you love and maybe which ones you've tried and you hate. I'm actually pretty interested in what beaters people hate. I think that's a pretty interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many out there. Some of them are good, and there's got to be some that are just terrible. Or maybe they just didn't work for someone. Maybe someone has a story like mine where the rubber is getting soft and hot and sticks to the kick drum. I don't know. But
if you do have a story like that, please tell us, and get on Instagram if you have it, or Facebook, and send us pictures of if you use a different style beater than we mentioned, or even one that's not, factory. Show us a picture. I want to see them. Yeah,
and even of like the wear of your kick drum beater, because I think it's kind of interesting seeing how the different ones wear too, because how they hold up is important as well. Definitely. So hit us up, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's pretty much like everything /drum chats, right?
Yep, everything /drum chats.
Boom. Travis at drumchats.com, Dave at drumchats.com. Just send us an email. And we will talk to you guys next time.
Cool. See you guys.